a lot changes when you want to execute an operation in hours versus days, and the whole everything has to work like an army level discipline. It has to work like clockwork. No single activity. So it's a relay. One activity delay goes on to each and every other activity.
Hello and welcome to the Startup Operator podcast, where we source wisdom from India's best founders, operators, and investors. I'm Roshan Cariappa, and I'm speaking with Vishesh Khurana, the co-founder of Shiprocket. Shiprocket helps small businesses ship their orders to their customers in the most seamless way. They have a fantastic data science and technology backend that enables just that. In this conversation, Vishesh spoke about his experience of working with small business owners, the complexities of fulfilling an order post-purchase, building out a partner ecosystem, and of course, their recent fundraise of $185 million led by Zomato, Temasek, and Lightrock India. And of course, what the future holds for them. We've often spoken about this plug and play infrastructure that exists for entrepreneurs to start businesses over a weekend if they want to. And Shiprocket is a vital part of that ecosystem. Do check out this fascinating conversation with Vishesh Khurana. Hey, Vishesh, welcome to the Startup Operator podcast. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you, Roshan, for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, I've been observing Shiprocket for a while now, and I think you guys are doing an amazing job enabling small businesses. That's something I'm a fan of. But I do understand that serving these folks is not that easy, right? Because they can be extremely demanding. They can be so value conscious as well. Can you take us back to when you were starting the business? How did you decide to target this particular segment?
Okay, so yeah, I think we started back in 2012, and the vision from day zero has been making it easy for SMEs and small business owners to go online, because everyone knew the only next parallel or the next best channel for them to grow would be online. So we started with something called a product called Smart Store. It was an online shopping cart. So it was a website builder. What it used to do, and of course it evolved into Kartrocket. We rebranded the same thing to Kartrocket after a seed round. But the vision was to make it cheaper and make it democratize it. So it's the idea was to make it cheaper for everyone, so everyone can go online and back in 2012 it was fairly difficult as well.
Yeah.
You remember in those times it was the times for web development. People used to pay anywhere in the range of couple of lakhs to get their online e-commerce website running. Even payment gateways used to charge a setup fee, which is of course in today's world everything is free now. Even getting a contract from a logistics provider came in with a minimum contract billing. So it was fairly difficult for someone who did not know whether or not his online business would succeed to put down that many commitments upfront to get their website up and running. So that's how Kartrocket started, and while the vision was to become Shopify for India, but we Indianized it in a lot of fashion where we realized in India there is nothing called do it yourself. So DIY platforms won't work. So we brought in something called an onboarding team in the play where we would do it for you. And again, that was fairly new, but very, very important for the Indian ecosystem. We brought in something called as a bulk buying concepts in a lot of things. For example, for payment gateways, we went ahead and said we will do the minimum commitment for whatever amount you need. And then on the back end, we would split that into 10 SMEs and then make it easier for each one of them. So the cost is now that one single thing is now shared amongst maybe 50 SMEs. Now it's affordable for everyone. So a lot of these unique ideas and unique approach made us the go-to platform for Indian SMEs and small business owners to go online. And I think that's where Kartrocket, and it was doing well. So we did that for good it's still there, but actively we were doing it for about 5 years. Yeah, so that's where we are.
Right. Yeah, 2012 was a very different time. I remember because I used to develop web apps as well, and e-commerce applications meant you had a few platforms, right? Magento, for example, and it wasn't like the plug and play infrastructure that we have right now for whether it's setting up a front end or distribution and so on and so forth. I want to talk about this pivot from Kartrocket to Shiprocket, right? And how did this transition happen, and how did you develop the conviction to leave what was clearly working, right? I mean, you had customers who were paying you and everything. How did you leave that and decide to chase a new promise?
So Honestly, we never left Kartrocket. We just dialed it down. But there was, so I'll take you through the journey. When we were in Kartrocket, we were about 2000, or no, at peak, we were about 3000 active websites paying us monthly SaaS, and the business was doing well in Indian ecosystem. We were at a decent scale. But what we did well during our Kartrocket journey was to listen to our customers' problem, because each and every feature we used to develop in Kartrocket as a product came from the problems that were voiced by the customers. So that was our all. So every time our roadmap always came out of customer problems, and over the time we realized, and there was also a lot of churn in Kartrocket. We were seeing people coming in paying us like the half yearly contract SaaS value, and after that they just vanished. It's not like they moved to some other platform; they just vanished out of the business. They just stopped doing online business. And of course, as a business, we went deep into it. What was the reason? Why were people churning out? Why were they not renewing? The biggest problem that came out of that was demand. While we had made the website building process easy, it was still a challenge to get and generate demand online. And now coming to 2014-15, when Flipkart and everything, all the e-commerce was already on its peak mostly, right? People were doing hundreds, lakhs and lakhs of orders. Generating demand using Facebook ads and other ad online medium was very expensive and also difficult. The knowledge wasn't just there. That is where the biggest problem was. It People used to pay and get their website up and running, and they thought, "But now that my website is up and online, people will come themselves." So demand generation wasn't an awareness that was fully there during those times. So that is where we started something called Kraftly. So between Kartrocket and Shiprocket, there was one more pivot. It was called Kraftly. It was an online marketplace where we said we will aggregate all the catalog of all my merchants that are on Kartrocket, and they are all individual sellers as good as vendors, and we will start generating traffic on that property, the Craftly. And when it was time for checkout, we would redirect them to their own private website. But clearly, it wasn't easy. It that did not work. So there was a huge drop in conversion when the traffic went from Craftly and redirected towards the brand website, because the experience changed a lot and the trust used to go away. And that's where we moved to checkout. We said, fine, then let's make Craftly a full-blown marketplace, and we will take the orders and then pass it on to the D2C merchants. That was the journey where we were trying to solve demand. The second biggest problem we realized was, even when we were generating demand, logistics was the second biggest problem for each and every merchant, where they said, fine, now I've gotten an order, but I only work with Blue Dart, I only work with FedEx, I only work with Aramax, and they only service a certain set of pin codes. I don't have the contracts for to service the entire nation. So the first drop that started happening was because of non-availability of serviceability on a certain pin code. And that came because people were working with one or two partners. It was fairly difficult to sign up five, seven partners because you did not have enough demand. That's where I think Shiprocket was always there. So Shiprocket has been as a product within Kartrocket. So because we used to provide a stripping engine within Kartrocket as well, signing up same logic as payment gateways. We signed up with logistics providers and offered the same pre-negotiated commercials to my SMEs, and we made it in fully auto in a very seamless automated fashion. So it was always there as a product that's bundled within Kartrocket. And then while running Craftly, because now we were the consumer, we became the direct customers with carrier partners. There was a lot of learnings that we also got while acting as the merchant ourselves. The problems that we were facing, the problems that we solved using tech, because we were solving all these problems in Craftly. And finally, when we realized how big shipping was as a problem area, we took all those learnings and decided to rewrite the entire shipping product that was within Kartrocket and completely rewrite it outside Kartrocket and launch it as a full-blown product. And that's how we reached to Shiprocket over time. And this was about 2017 when we decided to completely reinvent Shiprocket, because logistics was a biggest problem area as we learned, and demand generation wasn't cheap. So with while we were able to generate demand in Craftly, but it wasn't making economic sense for all three parties involved. For Kraftly as a service provider, the merchant, and it was a very high burn business. So we consciously decided to move out of it and picked up shipping as our only problem that we thought now this is worth solving. Let's divert all the focus and energy towards solving this one problem and win this.
Right. Fantastic. This, post checkout, right? I mean, it's something which is a make or break, right? I mean, you get the order, you're happy with it, and it's a moment of delight, and you will order maybe a couple of more times from the same merchant. But if, for instance, that order is delayed, or worse, I mean, you don't get the order, then it's gone, right? I mean, end of relationship. And given that the cost of acquisition is rising, right, that could be very, very, it could be chaotic for merchants. So can you take us through, some of the nuances and complexities of fulfilling an order? What really happens at the back end once you or I, place an order?
Sure. So let's start with the first thing that happens once an order comes in, right? The first thing that is now supposed to happen is making sure the package is now ready to be picked on time. So the packaging process, the order should go into the right warehouse, and the packaging process, you need to ensure there are enough people at scale in your warehouse to be able to pack that many orders, because there are pickup cutoffs for each carrier provider. So that is the first step. I think that's where it starts, where we need to assign the order to the right warehouse if you are working with multiple warehouse. Now, once the order is packed and ready, right? So label and all is generated by Shiprocket. What Shiprocket does on the back end to improve the experience is we use a lot of data science to tell you the right partner that you should choose for the order pin code, because now we have a billion data set of historical orders, and we know which carrier providers is delivering well in which particular pin code. Now we're using all that data to recommend partners for each and every order to merchants. Now merchants start using Shiprocket as a platform to now make their decisions in terms of to improve their serviceability, to improve the cost, speed, everything else using that data. Once the order is ready to be picked, what we do is once they are requested pickup, then the Shiprocket as a of Shiprocket ops teams takes over, and we start monitoring the entire journey from there on. At any single point now, because we are actively monitoring the journey, we know from the request generation time to the pickup time, when if there is any amount, any second of delay, the system will raise a flag and my ops team will step in to ensure that the pickup guy has is arriving on time to pick up your packet, right? Once a packet is picked up, the communication journey starts. Now we start communicating to the end buyer from that very second, that now your packet is picked, your packet is now at this particular hub, it's now left the destination hub, it's at the origin hub. So the more you communicate to the end buyer and the more you keep him informed, the less the chances of an RTO, because the uncertainty goes away. The more tracking you provide, the less uncertainty is there. So he's anticipating that order now. So there's a very, very less chance of RTO there. And that's the entire journey, right? It's communicating to the end buyer, giving them the entire tracking, preempting delays, and then acting upon them to ensure that actually the delay doesn't happen. So we know from point A to point B, this is the X amount of time it should have taken. If it does not reach to the destination hub at any stipulated time, my system will raise a flag, the ops team will step in, they will call the hub branch head, and there's a lot of manual activities that are happening behind the scene while tech is showing you the right tracking, but a lot of manual operations that are running behind them to ensure that the package now reaches on time.
Right. So I see two aspects to your business, right? So one is the aggregation side of things, where it has to make business sense for all of the parties involved, and the second is the technology slash data science aspect, right? Considering that you're working with the carriers and merchants who may not be so digitally mature, right? I mean, they may be using some very, very basic, inventory systems or order management systems and so on, right? How do you deliver technology to them? I mean, what are the methods to knit all of this together and make sure that you streamline all these processes through all of your cutting edge technology?
So I think we have spent our life working with the long tail of India. I think we understand them, we do connect with them, and with experience that came in from Kartrocket, Kraftly, They were those all the products were built for the long tail of India. So we kind of now had some learnings into this to understand what kind of technology and what kind of device to deliver the technology should be used. So we always took the mobile first approach, right? We made the mobile app, the UI and everything else very, very intuitive, and we took some cues from the very, very traditional apps that they use. A very common one could be WhatsApp. So we started understanding how the icon tray works on a WhatsApp, how the menu system works on a WhatsApp. It just makes it much, much easier for the SMB to use our app if he's already been using one of those apps like an Instagram or a WhatsApp, because we have already taken some cues from there. And we delivered the entire technology using the mobile. Now it may sound a little bit weird because for shipping you need printer and a label. How can you do this using a mobile? So that is where we designed a very unique functionality, because we knew they did not have access to a desktop or a laptop. Most of these SMBs are working from their mobile. So what now you can do from Shiprocket app is you can generate, do all the activities to process the order, and then once the label is generated in a PDF, you could just email that PDF to the guy who's actually packing, or just to yourself, and then take a printout of this, or
Nice.
maybe send it to the nearest cyber cafes like we call them. So get a printout from them. So I think those were some of the unique features that helped us work with these SMEs. And the app, we made the app very, very simple. While shipping is, again, shipping anyways is very simple. What else you have to do? You have to process the order, request, pickup, done. So it's a few step process, generate label, make sure it's ready. That's it. So,
Right.
anyways, the technology required here from, or the actions required from an SME standpoint are very, very simple and small. We just made it more easier.
This episode is brought to you by Mulya. You want to move fast? Sure. But without breaking things? Now that's a hard ask. The thing is, once you have some base of users and customers, you just cannot afford to risk quality. So how do the likes of Cred, Swiggy and Curefit, some of India's fastest growing startups, ship at lightning pace and delight their users and customers? Simple, they're working with Mulya as a strategic quality partner. Mulya is India's most talented and passionate community of testers. They've helped prevent thousands of bugs and regression issues. So, as a CTO or a product owner, if you want to reduce tech debt, especially while you scale, do check out Mulya.com. I've interviewed Mulya's founder and CEO Pradeep on the podcast earlier, and we spoke about how startups can improve quality while scaling and things to that effect. You should definitely check it out. I'll link to it in the description below. Now back to your regular programming. Now, if you listen to an SME, right, I mean, there will be a wide variety of things that they'll want you to do for them, right? It's a do it for me market, as you mentioned, right?
Absolutely.
Among all of the asks that they have, some of these might be stuff that might make strategic sense for you to fulfill, but otherwise, I mean, for the 20 other things, you might have to work with partners, right? And these could be I don't know, carriers. It could be like technology partners, like maybe WhatsApp APIs or Facebook Messenger, etc. You might have to work with various other things, right? Shopify and so on, right? So, how do you build that partner ecosystem out?
So the partner ecosystem is one of our strongest areas, right? Where we believe in the whole ecosystem approach to solving a problem. While Shiprocket might solve five, the entire ecosystem of the app store we have created on the back end will solve another 50 for
Yeah.
you. And we started like that, right? We started like doing the partnerships on behalf of you. When we started with payment gateways and carriers, we have expanded the same approach to a lot of other service providers, CRM tools, Zoho CRM, and we do all those partnerships with on a bulk format, pre-negotiate some commercials and offer it to SMEs. So for every other problem or every other tool that can help a D2C merchant expand their business or make it easier for them to manage their business, we will go ahead and partner with them, make them an app on Shiprocket, do a very, very tight integration, and then offer it to our merchants at a pre-negotiated commercials. And same goes for marketing automation. Same goes for even simplest thing like cloud telephony. So we will bring all those tools together under one platform. And a lot of this learning came from Kartrocket again, while we also had a app store there like Shopify App Store, where a lot of tools came together on a single platform and it was pre-integrated, one-click integrations were working. So again, use the same learnings and Shiprocket as well, the same partnership approach. We today have about 80 partner apps on Shiprocket, those who provide a lot of features and functionality onto the product.
Right. So SMEs are at the heart of whatever you do, right? But you also serve carriers and consumers. And sometimes, aligning all of their priorities and interests might be very difficult, right? You could have different teams working on different problems. How do you make sure that, one team doesn't go up against another, right? How do you make sure everyone's happy?
So let's talk about what are the priorities for each one of them. For carriers, let's start with them. I think what they would like to do is they would like to work with few but large volume players because their ops are designed like that. Their ops are not streamlined to work with SMEs who do two shipments in a month or maybe five shipments in a month. The customer support alone will be a very, very different mechanism for them versus what they are used to. They're used to working with people who can offer them about 5, 8, 10,000 order shipments in a day so that they can assign a dedicated account manager, they can assign a control tower. A lot of their processes are designed for large merchants. So what they would like to do, and that's where we step in. We design all the functionalities for small businesses, people who actually do 4, 5, 6 orders. We automate a lot of customer support activities, and we become that one single entity, aggregating all that volume for carriers and giving it to them as one single pipe. Now they only have to deal with us. That makes it easier for them. Now they can use the same logic of assigning a control tower, assigning an account manager to service us because we can aggregate all that demand and become that one single entity. So that solves the carriers provider. So making sure they are now also serving the long tail of India, but using through us makes it easier for them to manage them because they might not be able to take that many calls or just the processes are very different working with a small versus a large enterprise merchant. So that's where we come in for carriers. The consumers expect in India come clearly expects the whole Amazon Prime experience. If I've ordered, it should come tomorrow. If I've ordered, I should know when it's coming, and I should be able to track it whenever I want. And lastly, if I don't like it, I should be able to return it. So that's the consumer expectations. That's where we again step in. We have a network of warehouses. We urge all my merchants to distribute their inventory across our 50 warehouses that are now spread across the country. And we will then use again a lot of data science we will use that to assign the order to the nearest warehouse. So now it is delivered to you the very, very same day. We are also now moving towards maybe even sooner, not even same day, maybe link couple of hours. So we are trying to solve that by using that network of warehouses and a lot of intelligence to get the right order to the right warehouse. So that's where the consumer expectation comes in. And the merchants, of course, want maybe very few things while there's a large list of things, but in a macro level, they want their shipping to happen in the most easiest fashion. It should be cheaper, it should be faster, and the visibility, like let's put it that way. They should have a clear visibility of each and every shipment, what's happening. So I think that's where Shiprocket product is designed for. We will ensure using data science to give you the right recommendation. So you are always choosing the cheapest partner. We were giving you a network of warehouses. So the shorter the distance, the cheaper the shipping cost as by common sense. So we're doing all those activities to align merchant priorities as well. So now if you see the product, it's actually sitting in the center of all the priorities.
Right. So, your business is not just simply technology, but it's also a lot of logistics, right? And it's very operations intensive as well. And, 2020, when COVID happened, it definitely, would have affected you adversely. But then you guys have bounced back really strongly after that. Could you take us through, March or April of 2020? What happened? What was the, D-Day like, right? And what have you learned from that experience? What have you done differently?
So I think March 2020 has been one of those moments that happen in centuries. And hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it's just one of those very, very an event that no one can prepare for. It's a it's a circumstance that no one planned for. It's a possibility that no one ever expected. So it was everything to happen to us was different. The D-Day, of course, everything went to zero. We were in lockdowns. We saw suddenly the entire thing came to an halt. But what we did in those lockdown time because of course there was a lot of product bandwidth that suddenly got freer. There was a lot of tech bandwidth suddenly got freer. We decided to use all of those bandwidth and ideas and direct it toward hashing out all the possible scenarios. What will happen in the next 6, 8 months? What will happen in the next 12 months? And what should be our approach to play that? Because we saw it as a very, very large opportunity and we wanted to be prepared for it and we wanted to capitalize the most of it, right? So what we did was in the 30, 45 days of lockdown, the first thing we did was, of course, to start seeing the possible outcomes of this. The first thing we came out with was there will be a blast of online commerce. People will suddenly now move online. People will suddenly realize the value of online. Now we, with all our stack of products, had to decide what is our area, what is our right to win. There was Kartrocket where we could say we would help people go online. There was Kraftly where we said, fine, we will come in. We were contemplating all the ideas on which product should take life after this because it's an opportunity we should not miss. After a lot of back and forth debates amongst all the team members, maybe hundreds and hundreds of hours of Zoom calls, we came back to the same problem, saying whatever happens, shipping will be the largest problem and it will now become even a massive problem because no ecosystem, the entire infrastructure of this country is not designed to handle that level of demand. What is now going to come after the lockdown start easing out when online commerce is allowed? And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, luckily, we were prepared for it. We designed a lot of operations. We hired almost 300 people in lockdown alone, just to be prepared for the scale that was coming our way. We knew it was going to happen to us. We just wanted to make sure that we do not screw this up. We wanted to ensure our processes are completely up to the mark. We still failed. We were only, even after all that preparations, the amount of demand that came our way was way more than we could ever have imagined. While we were prepared for it, we were still underprepared for it because even the carriers were underprepared. The infrastructure was underprepared entirely. No one was ready for that level of shipments coming their way. Warehouses weren't that big. People did not have space. People were losing shipments. It was a full blown chaos. But that's the beauty of our country, right? People just bounce back so quickly and people innovate so quickly. And we saw people, carrier providers, scale their operations overnight. The speed at which the logistics infrastructure was built out, startups came together. People were using each other's facilities, capacities. Everyone, I think the whole ecosystem came together to solve this problem. And we were all sharing resources to do this. And that's what happened. I think now, looking back in hindsight, I think the demand is here to stay. The whole behavior has changed. It was not a spurt. It was not, the demand was not a temporary demand till the lockdown was there. The demand is now a behavioral change. It is going to stay, it's going to grow. Now, SMEs don't look at online as one of the possible alternate channels. It's not the third, fourth priority in their list. It is the primary channel. It is as important as their offline store. So a lot of demand and behavior shift has happened in this whole process.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last 2 years have been pretty remarkable that way, right? I mean, story of resilience, innovation, and the way, I mean, small businesses have digitized and come onto the medium is amazing. Possibilities are like
Absolutely.
immense. So with that, right? I mean, how do you think about the future, whether it's your product roadmap or whether it's new business or growth? If you were to look at the next couple of years, maybe more, right? How do you think about Shiprocket over the next couple of years?
I think Shiprocket over the next couple of years, we want to, and our vision since beginning has been the same. Now we want to come in the center of saying, let's enable business ideas, right? We want to enable entrepreneurship. We just don't want to be a logistic provider. So what we want to eventually become is a platform to start an online business. Whatever resources you need, even starting with intelligence on what to sell, warehousing, picking, packaging, sourcing. We want to build a whole sourcing partnership network where we can even help you source, manufacture your ideas, products. We want to be there when you want to, even a lot of activities pre-checkout like conversion funnels, marketing automation, and the activities, of course, post-checkout, we already have a lot of products. But what we want to become in the longer run is a business in a box platform where if you have an idea, we will give you all the resources, even capital, financing, we already have those in place. Everything that you need to start an online and run and manage a business. So that's where Shiprocket wants to be. That's where we want to play. is building those entrepreneurs, enabling entrepreneurship, giving life to ideas and all sorts of things. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's pretty amazing, right? Today we have this plug and play infrastructure that somebody can start a business over a weekend if they want to, right? Which is pretty phenomenal. Part of your future is also Zomato, right? So last December you guys raised 185 million from Zomato. Was that a conscious decision to raise funding from Zomato, or I mean, it was just a strategic partnership that just happened?
So I think a lot of it was to do with luck, because what happened, Tipinder joined one of our rounds as an angel investor, and that gave us some open channel, to have some discussions and some share some ideas. And during one of those discussions, I think we all have to agree. Now, the next 5 years or 10 years of e-commerce is going to be how fast you can get it. Everything about e-commerce is going to be about speed now. Speed and, of course, a large number of variety. So SKU depth and speed. That is going to be the biggest play for the next 5 years. And we also completely aligned with there, because how can we also, while we can with today's infrastructure, we can do the next day delivery, same day deliveries, but how do you do what's now called quick commerce? How do you do that, maybe 1 hour deliveries or 2 hour deliveries, and enable all my D2C merchants to offer that service to their buyer? How does a D2C website get this service? And that's where we shared ideas and thought this partnership would help us do that. And that's where the whole funding and everything came together. But it all started with the idea of building that network of quick commerce, enabling D2C merchants to deliver their products, to reach their buyers in the fastest way possible. And we are only going to do this as a service. And that's where the whole journey starts. That's where the vision is aligned, where we want to get to our merchants quicker, and whatever resources, some help can come from Zomato. The others, of course, there's a lot of infrastructure available for hyperlocal. But that is what we are working towards very, very actively, to reduce the time of delivery in matter of hours.
Right. So the space that in which you operate, right? I mean, has heated up quite a bit, right? I mean, you just mentioned quick commerce with plenty of players coming in, and then somehow people are keen on solving for the last mile right now. People have discovered that it's a giant problem, and everyone's putting in time, effort, money to solve that, right? Now, for a layperson listening to this podcast, if they want to start up in this space, from all of your years of experience operating here, what are some of the nuances and what are some of those insights that you would like to tell them?
So I think a lot changes when you want to execute an operation in hours versus days, and the whole everything has to work like an army level discipline. It has to work like clockwork. No single activity. So it's a relay. One activity delay goes on to each and every other activity. So when you want to execute in an hourly fashion, a lot changes in your operations. The assembly line, let's put it that way. The assembly line has to work efficiently. So the only suggestion I would bring in, I think last mile will happen. I think a lot of effort needs to go into the activities that go in before the package is picked. Packaging, picking, the process of assortment, the process of even which product to be placed where becomes so important in this journey, and so much intelligence goes into it. Having it could change a lot, having the right product in the right place alone. And that seems like a very, very simple problem, what's there, but that few minutes that you save adds up to the last few minutes when you're ready. I think the in quick commerce, a lot is to be done post pickup of the product than after pickup, because after pickup it's all about the run from A to B. But a lot of activities happen pre pickup of the product.
Right. So at every stage of the journey, the founder has to transform themselves, right, in order for them to be able to, be there as a leader for the next level of growth, right, for the startup itself. And I want you to reflect on your journey right now, and what are those things that you have to learn, or you are planning to learn for the next, leg of the journey. I mean, what are those things that you are actively trying to upskill and learn?
Yeah, see, while we are trying to upskill and learn at Shiprocket, what we truly believe is getting the right set of leaders at every turn, every part of our journey, right? And even for the next growth phase, we have been able and we have been lucky enough to get the best of leadership folks. We've hired a good leadership team. They are all best in what they do. They all have seen scale, and we try to learn from them because they all come from a lot of experience in the industry, and we rely on their learnings from the industry. While our upskilling is important, but it's also very, very important to always get the right talent for the job, and that's where we depend a lot on. So we always try to stay a little one step backwards, where we would give them enough space to execute, and that's where the learning comes from. And this is all about how to operate at scale, because we are dealing with massive amounts of monies and massive amounts of shipments, data, a lot of it. While you can learn on the job, but some of these things cannot be risked with learning on the job. So we always try and get the right talent for this.
Right. I think at some level, or perhaps at the most central level, the job of a founder is to hire the right people and let them work, right? Basically.
Absolutely. I think, and if you're able to do that part right, I think then there is no stopping you. Then your journey is always as smooth as it can get.
Right. Hey, this has been a fascinating conversation. I mean, I certainly learned a lot of facets about your business. Now, before we leave you, would love for you to recommend some books or podcasts for our listeners.
Yeah, I'm not a book guy, but I like documentaries. So I think a lot of maybe every biographies. I think there are a lot of documentaries now at your disposal. A lot of learnings come from customer-centric learning, comes from Steve Jobs, maybe his books, his documentaries. A lot of learnings can come from. I think Steve Jobs alone is one of the person that one should study a lot in their journey. There's a lot of learnings that can come from his journey, his product-centric approach, and everything else.
Right. Yeah. As a marketer myself, I mean, I find myself going back and listening to a lot of what he said. Right. I mean, definitely timeless wisdom. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vishesh. This was a fun chat, and all the best for everything that you have coming up, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this episode, then don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite platform and share this episode with all of your fellow startup operators. Also, follow the Startup Operator on LinkedIn and Twitter for more updates. Stay safe, take care, and see you soon on a brand new episode of the Startup Operator.